Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar today. Today, we'll be discussing the ensuring of reliable long-term module performance with the changing markets and technology. My name is Jeremy Arendt, and I direct the Power and Utility Group for Bureau Veritas North America. Bureau Veritas is a testing, inspection, certification, and advisory firm leading power projects across the globe. And we primarily focus on renewable technologies and ensuring risk and reliability across those assets. Today, we have a great guest on our session here from DuPont. Kaushik, if you could please introduce yourself and your company.
Sure. Hello everyone. My name is Kaushik Roy Choudhury, and I'm the Global Technical Leader of Photovoltaic Reliability within the DuPont Photovoltaic and Advanced Materials business. I head up a team of technologists, downstream folks all across the globe looking at photovoltaic reliability, working in the technology group. And I'm really pleased to be on the session today to share my thoughts around photovoltaic module reliability in the wake of changing technologies and the market in general.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So the plan for today is to have a discussion around this topic, and we'll cover several sections of what's going on in the market, technological differences, adaptation and adoption of different technologies, and looking overall at reliability, long-term sustainability of these technologies. So if we talk about the first topic, I'd like to focus on module quality. And from your perspective and your company's perspective, within this supply chain, what are you seeing with module quality as it stands today? And what has happened in the history and how things have changed over time?
Yeah, I think that's a very good place to start. Quality oftentimes, at least in this market, is also connected to availability and demand. And for the first part of this year, we have seen module prices increase quite a bit owing to raw material price increases. For example, the price of polysilicon has gone up significantly, leading to one of the reasons why module prices have gone up. And whenever there's this increase in raw material prices, we have seen in the market there is a corresponding pressure on module makers to reduce the cost so that they can balance it out. And in one area where we have seen compromises being made in the past is module quality. So as we all know that not all modules are made the same, and we have seen time and again from the field, especially from the field, results where some amount of compromise was made in some material component within the module, and as a result of which it has affected the longer term, or even in some cases rather midterm performance, affecting module affecting the return on investment on the asset owner's part. This is on the one hand this kind of situation is going on. On the other, the expectation of service lifetime for modules is continuing to grow, with longer PPA agreements, with in the introduction of newer technology and things. So it's almost like a perfect mix of module prices increasing, expectations going up. By the same time, there are chances where the quality might be compromised. So it's an interesting situation where I think all of us technologists, folks like you, asset owners, need to be even more vigilant towards the quality of modules.
Right. Yeah, and you're seeing EPC agreements adjust and shifting of supply chains to different countries, different suppliers, and some of that quality gets compromised. So it's even more important, like you mentioned, to have some due diligence on the front end, have good visibility of what's happening inside your agreements, and have protection on that as well. So good points there. For sure. Let's talk about a similar topic here, but in the past, the technological innovation with modules hadn't really exploded with the same velocity it has now. We're seeing a lot of technological change. It's faster pace, And in a certain way, we're seeing developers and EPCs adopt that technological innovation faster and almost ask for it. Can you speak to that topic and what you're seeing and maybe some consequences because of that?
Yeah, yeah. For example, as is seen in certain reports, we are already seeing that bifacial modules will be futures, the trend in the industry. And I'm showing some, our internal estimates over here for what kind of share growth the bifacial modules will be having in line with, the overall mandates across the world around greenhouse gas emissions and things like that. So that's one big thing that has happened in the industry over the past few years, that the adoption of these improved technologies, newer technologies mostly around the bifacial module structure has come up. The other big trend that we are seeing of late is improving, the form factors and trying to pack more power within smaller footprints. As a result of which, there are certain changes that are happening at the module level, and modules are getting bigger and larger in size. So both of these technological improvements are also having an effect on the balance of systems. What we are seeing here are now another trend where a lot of these modules, once they are getting larger, the trend is also trying to make them lighter. And in certain aspects, be it around the frame, be it around the glass that is being used, people are trying to go thinner and lighter in order to counter the extra weight that's coming from the larger modules. So with this in view, I think I would go back to the fact that, the test labs and asset owners, they would have to play an important role. And, Jeremy, we could go to some examples that we have from the field in our past assessment of the field and what kind of defects they're showing up versus, the new things that these test labs are catching. So that would be something that I think we should keep an eye open for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good. There's a lot of different innovations happening, like you mentioned, and maybe sacrifices on the quality side in the manufacturing process. And there's also, you could touch on the adoption of trackers as well, and maybe the consequences of having more mechanical movements on these plants and projects, although it allows better efficiency and energy yield. However, there are some things to think about and some subject matter expertise that needs to be brought into play that maybe isn't across the board. So that's great,
Right.
Great points.
Right, and Jeremy, one of the interesting things is we are always big on field results from the field, and for normal reasons, a lot of these new innovation and technologies, they are not field proven, but just by the very nature of them being just introduced in the market. And that's where I think some of these due diligence plays a much bigger role.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, that's good. So kind of along that topic on test labs, due diligence, design review, it's an area that we're also very heavily focused on. From DuPont's perspective, can you maybe elaborate more on the importance of that and what you're seeing, and maybe potentially if there's any gaps or what you'd encourage folks out there to be vigilant about?
Yeah, absolutely. DuPont, although we are a material supplier in the PV market, we have done quite a bit of field assessment all across the globe. And this has been going on for several years now. And we do see certain things in the field that has been happening. And I'll just tie it back to the test lab assessments. So as you can see in this simple bar diagram over here, year over year, I am showing a couple of years of results from the field. Module defects are not going down significantly, although we are improving the technology. And yes, there is a little bit of a bias in this towards older modules, but in general, this kind of gives you a snapshot of the things that we need to be aware about: the packaging materials, cells, cracking in backsheets, ARC delamination, and things like that. And not only that, independent assessment by a lot of the traditional test labs who are also getting more into the looking at fields are showing up either manufacturing defects, mismatches, heat stresses, and even defects that are coming up through transportation or installation and these kind of things. For example, in this result that I'm showing from PV Evolution Lab, they have actually looked at several fields now and picked up these things. Another interesting thing that another test lab, one of the premier test labs in the US, RETC in California, have shown that I was talking about these larger modules and how these modules are trying to go lighter by adopting thinner glasses in front. And some of this glass is actually not the fully tempered variety, and they're rather heat strengthened. And they have shown in a very innovative test now, a hail test, that in fact, the direct impact resistance of these glasses can be significantly different. So things like these need to be kept in mind. And the test labs, they are coming up with all these new tests. I think it's upon the asset owners as well as the advisors to push for and emphasize these early stage testing to catch as much of these potential pitfalls as they can.
Correct. Yeah, that's great. That's a really good reminder. And I think something that a little bit short-sighted sometimes on the field reliability testing post COD or even during the construction phase, which is very important. Not only just EPC oversight, but also module quality, all the other components, making sure that there's a good quality program in place and that the manufacturers that are being utilized and negotiated with, it's a fair contract, and there's ways to resolve some of these issues that can arise as we try to expedite the projects all over the world. We don't want to have a consequence of quality degradation. So on that one chart that you showed on the other defects that you're seeing, that's interesting that a lot of it is not what we would be seeing in the past, but other areas that are popping up that we're losing quality and maybe some areas of insight that are really helpful for folks today. Well, so that's great. So any closing words from you today after we've covered these topics?
No, I think we are at a very interesting and exciting juncture. PV deployment and installations are still going up at a very rapid pace across the world, despite the supply chain issues that we are facing in the short term. I would suggest all asset owners to, again, choose module materials diligently, choose materials that have either been proven in the field or have gone through rigorous testing so that you can confirm reliable operation over longer periods of time and enable a proper return on investment.
Perfect. That's great. Well, really appreciate you taking the time today to work through some of these things that we're seeing out in the field and areas we can be a little bit, have more due diligence. That's very enlightening for me. It's helpful to see that as well. And we're hoping that this encourages folks to make sure that they are diligent and using the right technologies, and we can increase capacity factors and have great long-term success and make sure those ROI models are accurate and stretching out further and further. So thanks for your time today. Appreciate everybody joining us, and hope you all have a great day.
Thank you, Jeremy. It was my pleasure as well. Thank you.
Thank you.